Ugh, look like hell. I don't think there's a good light today. I should probably get my hair cut. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, the rest of it would be fine. Maybe shave once in a while. Yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement here. All right, about 7 o'clock in the morning on the 22nd of June, 2022. More 22s. All right. Slept really good last night. Yeah, it was after sunset. The wind blew quite a bit. It was really blowing. I mean, like my little flag there, it was just going. I'm like, okay. So I slept in my sweats and I put my jacket on and I put the toque on, and I had the belly collar or the neck gaiter over my face just to kind of block the wind. It wasn't really that cold, but the wind was kind of annoying. So I over bundled up probably. By morning I was kind of sweaty, but it did seem like it helped me ignore the wind. You could still hear it, but it didn't bother you as much. It was kind of weird. I don't know. It did seem weird putting the jacket on because it wasn't that cold, but it's a weird thing when your sleeping bag is fluttering. I've had that a few times. And with the direction and the hill that I'm on, usually I would have tried to get down behind the bike, but that would have put me laying in the wrong way. So my head is uphill quite a bit here, actually. I didn't slide off the bed this time. I've had that happen where I realize I'm sliding. Every time you roll over, you slide a little further, kind of thing. That wasn't too much of a problem, but anyway. Kind of hoarse, I guess, now. The sun is just coming up here. I don't know if it shows up. Yeah, right there. It wasn't up a minute ago. It just is coming over the hill, so I've got plenty of power on the battery, so that part is good. The campsite that I was planning on going to is about 11 miles from here, I think. And so what I'm thinking, I haven't really tested the motor yet this morning. Okay, so hang on, there's a truck going by. They're getting an early start. They were working on the overpass when I came off of Interstate 5 at mile marker 1. So what it's looking like, they're doing paving, and so that was a truckload of grindings that came off. So yeah, since my dad used to work for a paving company, I'm kind of aware of these things. And it's like, oh yeah, there he goes, truckload of grindings going up. So they're grinding the surface off of the bridge, I think, and then I'm kind of putting that together from what I saw last night. I stopped near there just when the motor first started giving me trouble. I just kind of stopped and was looking and see what they were doing. So yeah, anyway, noisy, but now it's back to quiet. There's very, very little traffic on this road, so that's kind of cool. Okay, so I was going through a list of ideas in my head last night. Just, you're like, well, what if this? What if this? That way, when it does happen, you have time to think about it. All right. So if the motor is in fact shot, I'd have some options, right? I've got the new motor, and I could adapt. I'm pretty sure I could adapt that. So what I was thinking is, if I get to the campsite, then I'm in a relatively safe place, and I could have a picnic table to work on. Okay, so that's a good idea. And it's only, like I said, 11 miles, and the bike itself is still functional. It's just maybe the motor isn't working as good as it should. Okay. I think I got about a 3-mile hill going up, and then I would be going downhill towards the campsite. So there's a good chance that I could, worst case, it's not a very steep hill. It wouldn't be that hard to push the bike if I couldn't pedal it hard enough. Okay. If it's at that point, because quite often pushing the bike is easier than pedaling it if it's, really slow going. So, okay, just grind it out, right? Not a big deal. And then I was like, well, officially, I have ridden 1 mile in Oregon. So, check. I'm like, well, I did the same. I mean, I did about 400 feet in Colorado, so okay, whatever, right? I'm not going to feel too terrible if it comes to that. Now, maybe it'll work. Great. But now I've got that thing stuck in my head. It's like, well, I'm in a town. If it's getting flaky, now I didn't have any sign of trouble at all. I mean, aside from a little bit of a whining noise, but it's been doing that off and on the whole trip. So, so just I'm playing with the options right now. I'm not really sure yet. If something is actually broken inside, then it's not going to get better, all by itself kind of thing. And I don't think I would waste any time fixing this one because I've got 3 more. Actually, I've got 5 more. When I bought this one, I bought 4 complete wheels for spares. So that had 4 motors, and I bought 2 more motors because they were cheap, right? Yeah, so it'd be kind of fun to take it apart and see what it looks like inside. A couple people have asked about that already, so yeah, we'll do the autopsy when we get a chance. It'd just be kind of interesting. I know they have plastic gears. It's a planetary drive motor in there. It's a good little motor, so the fact that I've gotten over, I might be close to 2,000 miles already, now that I think about it. Yeah, because I've been saying 1,500 for a while. I'll bet I am close to 2,000 miles on it, pulling a trailer. So, yeah, that's, it's far exceeded my expectations. So, figure out, the bike will either work, or it won't work, or it'll work a little bit. Either option is fine. If I got to push it up the hill and coast down the other side, fine, no problem. All right, breakfast time. All right, it's almost 9 o'clock. I was just sitting here slacking. Be like sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at my email, screwing around on Facebook. I'm like, oh yeah, right. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I should probably get going. Anyway, yeah, according to the GPS, I got to go up about 800 feet and then down about 2,000 feet and like 13 miles, so about an hour. If the bike works, I'll be there in an hour. I'm going to the campsite. If the bike doesn't work, it's about a 4-hour walk. Either way, we'll be there by noon, 1 o'clock. No big deal. I like those odds. And here's the thing. Once I get to the top of the hill, I can coast so I can get back on the bike anyway. So if I do have to push it up the hill, it's not that big of a deal. Worst case, it's still a bicycle. Yeah, keep it easy, right? So off we go. Beautiful day though. It is just gorgeous out here. Probably not as hot as yesterday. Mid-80s, I think. Have a rad day. Awesome. I saw that while I was cruising by, and I'm like, well, I got to go back and get a shot of that. So other people would disagree, but I got to say there's some pretty amazing graffiti. I'd consider it an art form, aside from the fact that they're probably stealing the paint and doing it on everybody else's property, but still, it's kind of cool. A lot of really talented people out there. Yay! All right, in other news, bike is over there in the shadow. I'm gonna go sit down for a minute. Motor made some bad noises and then it stopped making noises, so I'm gonna say it's probably about toast. So my operating plan right now, I'm about 12 miles from the campsite. That seems like a good place to go. I can get a shower, chill for the day. That'll give me a little bit of time to sit down and think. I rode it. The motor worked for a little bit this morning, like maybe 1,000 feet. And I was thinking, man, it would sure be nice if it would get me up this hill. It doesn't even work in walk assist now, so. Well, I've definitely broken down. I've broken in worse places. This is nice here.
Yeah, it's like, well, I can say Death Valley had its own charms, but this place has shade. That's worth something. Oh, another hawk, I think. Or is that the vulture? It's the vulture. It's a really nice little place. Yay, we're here. And of course I have no cell phone coverage. I think there's something, I don't know, maybe if it's like a trailer park that attracts hurricanes, too many RVs block cell phone signal, I don't know, something like that. Alright, let's start with the fact that this sucks. Optimistically. The easiest option, I sent Dad a message on Facebook, see if he'd come down and pick me up. Now the questions are, what does he have to drive? Does he want to drive 500 miles just to come and get me? You know, if he had the fit, it wouldn't cost too much. I don't know if he's still got the fit, and I don't know if this would fit in the fit. Okay, so that's option one. Haven't heard back though. I sent him a message about 10 o'clock this morning, but that was on Facebook, and who knows if he checks it very often. Okay, that's option one. Option two, I was thinking, okay, I can just go get a U-Haul truck and haul myself back to Wenatchee. Okay. One-way rental to Wenatchee is about 600 and some miles, or 600 and some dollars. I got about $300, so that's completely out of the question. Then I got to thinking about it. It's like, well, what about if I did incremental? So one idea was if I got from here to Bend, Oregon, that gets me over the pass, and I could afford to do that. It's about $300 or something like that. Okay, so that's an option, and it gets me a lot closer. Okay. What I realized though is if I didn't do one way, if I brought the truck back, I can get it down to about $100. Okay. So what that kind of looks like is load up, take everything to, for instance, Bend, find a place to stash the trailer, come back, drop off the truck, and then just take the bicycle back with no electrics. So just strip it all down and then carry probably a backpack with my sleeping bag. It's probably all I could do, right? And then cash and get stuff when I need it. Okay. Yeah. Another option then, what if I just looked at every single thing that's on the trailer, and for the next 500 miles, what could I get rid of? Okay. So if I don't have electrics, you know, I could get rid of all of the batteries. That's assuming I can mail them. Okay. If I got rid of the batteries, got rid of all the tools, that's a significant amount of weight. I could pretty easily, well, okay, I mean, if I'm looking at spending multiple hundreds of dollars for a rental truck, what if I mailed everything home to Dad's, and then just straight pedaled all the way home? If I cut the weight down, it would be a lot lighter. Maybe I could do it, you know. I think for now it's about 5 o'clock or something like that. I've got the bike switched back to just the big the stock wheels. I'm going to run into Albertsons. It's about 3 miles each way. Get myself something to eat tonight. I'll probably feel better when I eat a little more. Survival food. This is kind of messed up. I don't know. So it was about a 4-mile ride, I think, down to the Albertsons. So I stocked up on stuff you need. I'm like, okay, so we got some bread, we got the hot dogs, we got the cheese, Pop-Tarts, you know, you can kind of figure it out. Bananas are good for you. And some peanut butter. All right. So that makes me wonder. I think I had another banana somewhere. I don't know where I went. Oh, there's one more. I gotta make sure to eat the other one first. It was actually almost green and brown at the same time. That's what happens when you throw things in your backpack. I actually had 2 bananas and I forgot they were in there. Man, am I glad I looked and found it. That would have sucked. Anyway. Alright, let me see if I can recap the day and then we'll get down to editing and get this uploaded. So, the motor on the bike died. It's making bad noises and whatnot. Basically, it got to the point it just quit working. So, okay, that's that. All right. So today I got to this campsite, which is Creekside something campsite near the Immigrant Lake on the south end of Ashland in Oregon. Last night I camped about 10 miles from here, and I almost thought about pushing through, and I thought about it. I was like, well, it was towards the end of the day, and I was tired, and the motor was already giving me trouble, so I thought, you know what, let me just stop where I am. I'm glad I did, because what it ended up working out today, I had about 4 miles and 400 feet to climb, and then 8 miles and about 2,500 feet to come down into town, right? It was like, I stopped twice and adjusted my brakes coming down the hill. It was crazy. So I'm glad I didn't do that yesterday when I was tired. Yeah, it would have been rough. It was crazy steep coming down. So, yeah, it was about 10 or 12 miles today, not very far. So I got here by noon. And I practically coasted. Once I got over the top, I like without the motor, I pushed it 4 miles up the hill and then pretty much coasted all the way down the hill. So that worked out okay. I wish more days were like that. I could just about do that. So when I got here, I was like, you know, I had ideas and what I wanted to do, and I didn't have internet except for up at the store at the campsite. And I sat here on the table, the picnic table, and I fell asleep for about off and on 2 or 3 hours. I didn't think I was tired. I just was like, I got in the shade and it was comfortable. I lay down and that was it. Boom, gone. So then I kind of woke up and I was confused and stuff, and I was like, okay, that was half a day wasted already. But so I was going through the triage steps. It was like, all right, so we've got the main motor that I've been using the whole trip isn't working. What does that leave me, right? I dropped a message to my dad on Facebook, and I don't know how often he checks, so I probably won't get an answer back right away. That's, you know, my dad is like 500 some miles away, so that would be a long trip for him to come down and get me, but I figured that was an option. Option 2, what I thought, because today I got paid from YouTube, so I got like $300. I'm like, oh, I'm rich, everything's going to be good. So I was thinking I'll go get a U-Haul van, haul my bike all the way up to my dad's place, right? Because the part that I need to get the new motor working will be there in about a week. So I'm like, all right, I've already, you know, where I camped last night was 1 mile inside of Oregon. So I've ridden 1 mile in Oregon. So I'm like, well, it's kind of cheating, but oh, wait, I wouldn't feel too bad if I just drove all the way up to Wenatchee and then finished riding after that. Well, I get to looking at it today when I walked up to the store and used their internet. U-Haul would cost 89 cents a mile plus $20 a day for a van, something like that. And then if I did it one way, they were going to charge me, because it's like, well, I didn't need to come back to here. I wanted to get up to Wenatchee. It was going to cost like $650 to get a van from here to Wenatchee. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay, that's probably not going to be a good option. So then I was really depressed, and I went back to sleep for a while and thought about it. I'm like, oh, it's not solving anything. So I thought, well, let me go up and get some food, and then I'll have time to think. And the funniest thing is, when I was on the road, then my brain started working again. I was like, okay, you got to get moving. You can't just sit still. So I was kind of thinking of options again. And one idea, which I don't think I'm going to do, but if I rented the van from here, got it up to about Crater Lake, that's about 6,500 feet elevation, all right? Drop the trailer off up there with all of the stuff, and then bring the van back here and drop it off. That would be much less expensive because I'd be bringing it back to where I got the van from. You'd still pay miles, but it wouldn't be so bad. Plus, I would get all of the heavy stuff to the top of the hill. Okay. So then it'd be a matter of, there's a state park or I think it's a national park. Anyway, there's a park up by Crater Lake. So I'm like, okay, I could, even if I got a campsite and then zip back down here, leave the stuff up there, camp for 2 nights, and then ride the bike empty all the way back to the campsite was one idea. Okay, that's still a possibility, actually. And I'm like, okay, so that way, the bike by itself, I just rode the bike today down to the Albertsons, and I'm like, yeah, it's kind of nice riding a bike without dragging the trailer. You don't really miss the electrics because you don't have all the weight of the trailer. I'm like, I was just zipping along. It was okay. It'd be a little bit rough, but if you get to a part that you have to walk it up, well, it's easier than pushing the trailer, right? So I'm kind of thinking about this. Like, yeah, that might be an idea. So that's one option, all right. It's not really practical for somebody like my dad to drive 500 miles down to get me and then 500 miles back. And then it's like, depending on what car he's got, it's like if I could even break the trailer down enough to fit in there, But then that spurred a whole bunch of other ideas. It's like, well, what if I just abandoned the trailer, right? Well, it's like, yeah, but I've got about $1,000 worth of batteries. I'm not going to just leave that, So then I'm like, okay, there's a UPS store in town. I could ship the batteries ground to my dad's house. That might still be an option, because if I could get rid of all of the batteries and all of the tools, I could then pull the trailer without electrics and get it up there, and then all the stuff would be waiting when I got there, and then the new part would be there. It's just this whole big circle of what this whirlwind of ideas was coming up. The other idea, which I thought was hilarious, but almost would, I'm 2,000 miles from home. I'm 500 miles from my dad's house. None of this is convenient, right? So this other idea that popped up, I'm like, well, if I leave everything here, like go get a storage locker for a week or 2, I could ride probably 60 or 70 miles a day on the bicycle without all the camping gear, right? So then what would that even be like? I take one backpack with my sleeping bag, and that's about it, right? And maybe a piece of plastic to sleep in case it rained or something, but it probably won't rain in the next week, right? All right. Go up to my dad's house. By then, the part that I'm waiting for to get the good motor working would be there, and then I could come back and then get all my stuff. I'm like, no, that's a terrible idea. Or take one battery with me, but then I still have to carry the motor, which is heavy, right? And I can't put the motor on the bike because without the controller, the motor drags a lot. So that's kind of a bad deal. I think what it came down to is the best option I got of all of the worst options is I've got one cable that came with the new motor. If I cut that cable and strip all the wires, I'm pretty sure I can adapt the old motor controller to the new motor. It won't have very much power, but it should work because I've tested the new motor at about 250 watts, and it actually was okay. It's enough to get me up, most of the hills, and if it's not, then I can push it up. Okay. So I don't know for sure, but it seems like the new motor should work with the old motor controller. Probably. It's just a matter of, okay, I'm going to have to take this brand new nice cable that I can live without, I think. So I got to cut it in half and then strip all the wires and then sit there and solder everything together to make the new motor work with the old motor controller for the next 500 miles. At which point then I would have all of my stuff with me. I could get up there in one shot and then put the new part back on, and then I'd be set. Okay. So I was trying not to do that, but thinking about it after today, and just taking a break and switching my brain off for a while, and like, okay, which is the least worst horrible option? And that kind of is what it came out to. It's like, well, okay, if I decide to, I could just, if I cut that cable in half, I can replace that pretty easily. All right, and I may not even need it. It's an extension cable that I don't really necessarily need. So, okay. So what I did is I got the campsite for tonight, and then I got one more night. So I got tonight and tomorrow night. That'll give me tomorrow to figure out if I can do that. So I'm going to cut the cable and see if I can make it work. If not, I'm back to where I started with, and it only cost me another 25 days for the campsite, or $25 for the campsite, so it's not a huge investment. And that'll give me time to think of something else. So anyway, so for now it's broken. I'm pretty sure the motor is toast. If I can figure out a way I mean, I've been carrying the new motor for the last 500 miles now, or probably, I don't know, I'll figure it out, several hundred miles already. So if I put the new motor on the bike and carry the old motor that's broken, it's not any worse. And then I can get it, this is kind of the thing, I've got all the batteries, I've got the broken motor, I've got the new motor. If I can get them all home without having to ship everything, if it slows me down another week, fine, I don't care. This is kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I've already bought the stuff. It makes sense not to throw it away. If I can get the stuff home, then I can, I'll have parts for later, and I've already paid for it. If I, even if the motor itself is broken, it's got a wheel, it's got a tire, it's got a tube, it's got the disc brake, it's got all the spokes, all of that is valuable. So it's a pain in the butt, but it's worth, the effort to keep it, I guess, is the way I'm looking at it. So, yeah. Anywho, I think for tonight I'm going to make something to eat, or not make it, but eat it. It's like, yeah, I've already done this once a couple days ago. Just buy a whole pound of cheese and eat it in one shot. Yeah, it's good protein. I don't have refrigeration, so I'm going to eat it. That and a pack of hot dogs. And yeah, and then tomorrow I'll be here for tomorrow night, and then hopefully I'll have the bike put back together to where it'll work, and then we'll figure it out from there. Yeah. Anyway, sometimes life on the road is not, is there a good choice? Or I don't think there was a good choice. But it took me a while to figure out. It's like, well, what are the lesser of all the evils? It's like, well, okay, let me see if I can at least make the new motor and the old controller work. I think it will. If that works, great. Even if it doesn't work very good, but it kind of works, maybe it gets me 200 miles closer. That's something, I know I'm not going to hurt the new motor. I might blow up the old controller, but that's a $12 controller. I'm not really too worried about it. So the last thing that I realized today, I can ride if it's basically level without the motor working. Okay, so I could push it up the hills. If it takes me all day to go 4 miles, fine, that's 4 miles closer. Then I get to the top and I can coast down the other side. Okay, right? I think the worst part of that is it takes you so long to get somewhere, you're going to go broke buying food. But as long as you're making forward progress, that's got to be worth something. So, yeah, it's kind of a weird way to look at it, but I got time now, so. Anyway, thanks for following along. Sometimes the adventure takes a weird turn. All right, that's it for now. Bye for now. See you later.